Hi, my name is Lisa Padilla. This is TPE for Planning Instruction and Designing Learning Experiences for all students. So for artifact number one, it really focuses in on Universal 4.1, locating and applying information about students' current academic status, content, and standards related learning needs and goals, assessment data, language proficiency, status, and cultural background for both short-term and long-term instructional planning purposes, promoting Universal 4.5, promoting student success by providing opportunities for students to understand and advocate for strategies that meet their individual learning needs and assist students with specific learning needs to fully participate in transitional plans. An example is their IEP, IFSP, ITP, and 504 plans. And also this meets mild mod 4.4, demonstrating the ability to create short and long-term goals that are responsive to the unique needs of the student and meet the grade level requirements of the core curriculum and systematically adjusted as needed to promote academic achievement within inclusive environments. So for this artifact number one, I chose my students' draft IEP. This particular IEP was held December 17th on a Friday, the last day before we went on winter break. And this IEP, you can easily identify the student demographics. So my student is a senior on my caseload, and my student is not an emergent bilingual student. This particular student only speaks English as their primary language. I'm able to identify where the primary disability is, the secondary disability, and where this particular student, where she receives special education services and anything related services within special education. So she receives specialized academic instruction and transitional services as a senior for career and college awareness. So this is all her student demographics. So as I move on to the second page, I presented her present levels of academic achievement, where she is in reading, math, writing, and the following additional categories. And within her present levels, I collected data I used these particular assessments, in the Woodcock-Johnson 4. This was a triennial, I forgot to mention. So I used a Woodcock-Johnson 4. I used her in math. We used a program called ALEKS, and I was able to gather data from there. Woodcock-Johnson, work samples, teacher observations. That's where I collected all of my data to present where she's at in all of the different core areas in reading, math, and written expression. So this was presented in the meeting. And I was able to tell parent, this is where this student is in reading, math, writing, where her communication levels are, social behavior, physical skills, and everything listed in page 2, along with her hearing and vision test. I do want to say a disclaimer. I didn't post everything in her IEP only because most of the IEP wasn't needed for these particular TPE4 standards. So I didn't post all 30 pages. I only posted what was needed. So then when I run, so I go into the third page, which is third, and it's like the fourth on the bottom. I also, again, take into consideration other factors. The student is not visually impaired, hearing impaired, and she doesn't need any assistive technology, so that I know all this different background when I'm writing goals. I take this from her assessment data, see where my student is struggling. And I know in the following page, when I put areas of need, I know that the student had areas of need in reading comprehension, reading fluency, written expression, math calculation, math reasoning, and transitional goals are where my student needed goals. And you'll also see that there's progress on her previous goals. So this was something that I discussed with parent and my student, where she was at with her previous goals from the previous IEP. She was able to meet 3, 4, 5 goals out of 6, and she made partial effort on goal number 4. So again, this was discussed in the IEP meeting of where she was at in that progress of her goals. she attended her meeting. So she was a part actually of the IEP by attending and by giving her input in her transitional goals. So she took a career assessment. I interviewed her. She did a work interest inventory with a program that the district we use called Naviance. I know a lot of other districts in nearby areas are very familiar with that program. It's a really beneficial resource for our students to do career, college, research. They're able to search nearby colleges, outside colleges, and out of state. It's a really great resource for our students, to use if they're unsure about where they would like to pursue, career paths, college paths. So she did use this. And then if we keep scrolling down, you will see in how I'm going to measure those goals, what activities I'm going to do for the transitional goals. So one of her plans for post high school, because she is a senior, she wants to either attend a community college or she wants to attend a trade school. So one of the things I did mention to her is that we're either going to, help you apply for a trade school or community college. We'll assist you as far as, her career, the counselors, myself, and her SDC teachers, and help her in applying for those applications for FAFSA. There's a lot of different resources on campus for her. So we did mention this in, in her IEP meeting. And there's a lot of different workshops, as mentioned, on campus that the counseling staff has for her. And another goal for her transition is that she wanted a part-time job. So I told her some of the activities we can do is updating that resume, continue practicing with job applications, and then practice interviews. So she really felt like she was included as far as her IEP and the process, because, we had an open dialogue in the meeting. I was telling her, when we had our interview, this is what you mentioned. Is that still something that you're interested in? So she didn't feel like, okay, everybody's speaking for me. And I, made it very open to her that if at any time I get any information incorrect, like, please let me know. Like, this meeting is not for me. It's not for, mom, it's for you. Like, we have these meetings so that we can support you and we can make sure that you are successful here at school. So she really felt comfortable, and, and throughout the meeting would tell us like, okay, yeah, I agree with this. I do like that we're going to do this activity to help me with this. I do want to go to community college or a trade school. And, and I agree with what you have. So it was nice hearing her feedback throughout the meeting. And then another goal is the post-secondary independent living. She had mentioned she still wanted to continue living at home, and that's fine. But one thing is learning about financial literacy, about bank accounts, how, identifying like where taxes come from in a paycheck, budgeting. So these are all different activities that I do to support my students in those particular transitions. I take some time aside from my math class and we work on those. And they're also worked on in a career and transition class as well. As I move forward, I did mention to her that since she is turning 18 in a few months, that her education rights would be transferred to her. She's turning 18 in March. And I made that known to mom that, she can still participate in these meetings, but her education rights would transfer over to the student. And then if you see in page 7 of the IEP, I wrote goals in the areas of need of where she needed help. I had my baseline and I had my evidence of how that was evidenced by what particular assessments I used. And then her goals, actually one math goal, math calculation, it aligned with Common Core. And I said which standard it aligned to. So she's still working on Common Core standards, and this goal will help her meet that. The second goal was a math reasoning goal. This particular one wasn't standard based, only because it is a standard, but it wasn't grade level standard, because she really struggles with word problems. And since the word problems that are at grade level are a little too challenging for her, I decided to put it to where she can, where she is able to she is able to learn. So that particular goal was not at grade level, but it is still Common Core standards. For goal number 3, her reading comprehension goal. This is a state standard and reading literature, and you'll see the standard is on the bottom. This one was evidenced by her student work samples, teacher observation. This is how I did collect my data. I wanted her to read comprehension goals and answer them. So these comprehension goals can be multiple choice, fill in the blank, short answer. And then goal number 6 was actually a transition employment. So again, she wanted part-time employment after high school. So for this goal, I wanted her to practice doing mock interviews. So some of my students are already getting jobs, they're seniors. So I've been practicing job interviews with them and giving them kind of commonly asked questions, going over like, how do you maintain eye contact with, a panel of people, making sure that their tone of voice is not too loud or too soft, and I make sure that they know the difference in maintaining eye contact, having a certain level of tone, shaking, and greeting people when you walk in. That's something that, I tell students that when you walk into a room, your first impression makes a big difference. When you walk in, you don't just right away sit down and don't look at anybody. Like when you walk into a room, you greet people, you say, good morning, how are you? Oh, it's a lovely day today. Hello, my name is so-and-so. Like that's how you walk into a room. So it's just little things like that I'm preparing my students for. And in this, for this goal, this focuses on mock interviews. The goal number 8 was academic based. So again, she wanted to go to community college, trade school, filling out those applications, financial aid applications as needed. So that was the end of her, for her goals. And then this particular page was least restrictive environment. I did go over with mom what exactly that means, where, we consider all different settings for her child and decide which is the best setting for her that she's going to be, she'll be able to benefit from, and where exactly she's still able to have opportunities to interact with her peers that are not in the SDC classes. So I explained to mom that she still has these opportunities to interact with, the general education population of the school in lunch and elective classes. My student is in dance and she's on the ASB. She's an ASB. So she has a lot of different opportunities. She is involved with setting up for our rallies and assemblies, passing period. She was in PE, general education PE. So I explained to mom that, she has these opportunities to still interact with her, with her peers outside of her smaller core class subjects. So mom understood what least restrictive environment, what it entailed. And the last part of this IEP that I think was really important is my students' accommodations. So I explained to her that there's certain, accommodations that we can provide her and resources that would benefit her in the classroom. So I was telling her, since she wears glasses and she has astigmatism, and she required surgery on her left eye when she was younger, and I told her, okay, one accommodation that we can do for you is make sure you have preferential seating in the front, so you won't have to, look over anyone or try to squint and see where the board is. And I told her, can you think of anything else? So in the meeting, we were able to think of additional accommodation. She had mentioned she would like, printed notes before, some of her lectures. So I thought, okay, we can do that. Tell me what else that you need. And it was really nice having that dialogue with my student, because not only was she a part of the transition portion, she was also telling me what she needed for accommodations. And I also included, the use of calculator, frequent checks of understanding by her instructors. So any of her core classes, elective classes. What surprised me the most is she told me that if she can have frequent reminders, to complete her assignments, because sometimes she says she forgets. So I told her in my class, we use Remind app, and what would you think would be the best for you? She's like, even if it's something my teacher's telling me, reminding me about an assignment, posting it online, she's, I feel like I need multiple reminders about all my assignments. And I said, okay, we can put that accommodation. We can put verbal reminders, written reminders, and app based. And I put, for example, Remind app. So it was really nice, seeing my student involved in the IEP process, in the meeting. And mom even, was really happy with the way that the meeting was run, because she said, she's never felt really she's never had like a really full understanding of what every single page in the IEP meant. And like I said, disclaimer, I didn't post every single page, because as we know, the IEPs are very, very long. And I only wanted to explain the main things of this IEP. And, and even my student says she's never actually attended any of her IEPs. And this was the first one that she's ever attended. And at least now she has a better understanding of what what her IEP is, what, goes into these IEPs, and how we're able to help her be successful in the classroom, so that when she does turn 18 in a few months, and if we ever need to make an addendum, any kind of changes to this IEP, she'll know, she'll have a better understanding, and she'll know how to advocate for herself, because this was really great having her tell me like what she needed, what she didn't need. And that's all we want our students to do. Like, we want them to advocate for themselves. So again, this was artifact number 1.